Hey now, folks. John Duffin here, Duffin Media. Welcome back to another Optimize Top Tip Blitz. I'm joining you live, and I hope you're joining me live too. I'm already throwing you a comment in here in regards to additional information. We're going to keep that comment, by the way, in the background. But you don't need to do anything with this at the moment. By the way, folks, I am broadcasting live right now on Facebook. And if you're joining me on Facebook, hey, folks, good morning. It is great to see you. If you are on LinkedIn and you're hearing my very loud voice, well, didn't mean to startle you, but I'm right here, right now. And if you are nearby, here's what we're offering today. And so, and I left out the fact that we're also broadcasting live on YouTube because this is like a big thing, right? So what I'm talking about specifically is this. Oh, by the way, folks, at this time of day, as the seasons change, is when the sun hits me directly off to the side. So if I look like I'm squinting, that's what's going on. Or if I look exceedingly bright, well, enough about all the logistics. And maybe I buy a room darkening set of shades next time. But here's what we're looking at. Every day this week, top tips. I'm going to call them my three best. Each day, you're going to get three top tips to do what? To elevate and optimize your communications. Why does that matter? Here's the premise. Every single time you are asking someone for something important, especially if it impacts money, specifically, they give you money. They give you an opportunity. They give you a chance to do something you're not doing now. And then I'll add one more caveat. What if you're trying to hold on? Anybody here? Hey, by the way, if you are here with me live and you can do so from the confines of what you're doing, do me a favor, drop it in a note in the comments. Drop a note in the comments that you're here. Let me know that you're here and let me know from where from. To me, it helps me, time zone differences and what have you, so that we are centering the communications in a place that make optimal sense. So what if you're holding on? What if you're one of those people where you feel like the situation is starting to get away from you? And this could be professional. Look, in September, we're very close to year end. There's a lot of inherent pressure. We talked about yesterday, that sense of back to school and excitement and that sort of thing that has taken place. We are a couple of weeks into September now, which means everything revs up. If you're in corporate, anybody that's in corporate here, give me a thumbs up, give me a high sign that you are here. And why I bring it up specifically is this. A lot of things are finalized with corporate. Annual plans for next year, for 2026. A lot of things are predicated. Oh, and those annual plans are often really predicated on how well you finish in 2025. Because here's what I learned. Here's an experience tip that I've learned, and maybe you've experienced it too, which is point blank. If you're in a situation where budgets are being prepared or set, they are often predicated upon what they called an expected finish. Don't want to sound all heavy and boring here, but I will say this. It's an expected finish, which means you have to finish the year strong. That's if you're in corporate. If you are an entrepreneur like me, I run my own company, I do a lot of freelance things, and you're expected to finish strong because you need to finish strong, right? Whether you're paying your own bills, who understands that? Paying your own bills, looking to grow, looking to springboard into an even stronger year, funding, budgets, asking for capital improvements, all are predicated upon strong finishes right now and making certain that as you go into the following year, you're in a position that you're not, in essence, flatlining. So that's where we are today. I'm going to give you a premise real fast as to where we're going in terms of overall basic premise. And so I'm going to. Here's where we are. So the premise. You made that big push last week. We all were, I call it back to school. That sense of, hey, we got to get back in gear. Summer's winding down. Let me brush the sand off myself and get back into a full business mode. And so, with all of that being said, you've got the sense of, look, you were so revved up, and now things feel a little less tight, so to speak. You were thinking everything's going strong, but you come back and I'm going to do this and I'm going to close that and it hasn't happened yet. And you're starting to get a little bit weird or wonky. That's a very technical term, folks, by the way, wonky. But you get this sense that, oh my God, the doubt creeps in, the fear creeps in, and knowing what's going on, you're thinking, okay, what are you going to do? So all of that energy, so to speak, people tell me that I'm known for energy. Well, sometimes that energy is misplaced. Okay. So I remember, and by the way, we're going to lead right now with the tip of the day. I don't like people typically waiting on me, but I just wanted to set the table that everybody's at this frenetic pace, right? Or you're perceiving that everybody is cruising at this point. And those that aren't cruising don't need to. But if you're trying to hit a revenue goal, you're trying to keep your company afloat, you're trying to keep your seat at the boardroom table, you're trying to remind whoever you're working with or for that you still bring value. What do? The premise here overall, look, everybody's moving so quickly. How do I keep up? You know, you can go slower if you want. And I'm laughing. But you know what's weird? That's going to be your first tip for the day, right? I'm calling it slow your roll. You've heard the expression a billion times. I didn't invent this. We're calling it slow your roll. So here's the thing. With all of the external circumstances that are going on, when I'll speak for me, but as I've coached clients, as I've observed in corporate settings, as I led teams, one of the things that I realized was lethal was forcing yourself to move faster, blowing through material, so to speak, right? We often presented in my world of media sales. Media sales, executive sales management, whether it's streaming, whether it was television, whether it's digital, whether it is, I've done radio too, and whether it is event-based. Here's the thing. Knowing full well that you've got, in essence, all of this data, you've got to be able to compress or condense it into a navigable piece. We often made the mistake of throwing too much data, which was a really easy go-to when you were a little unsure of yourself. You know how, and I'm laughing, you know how I'll get past this? I'm going to give them more research. Here's the thing. The slow your roll part, number one, make certain that anything you're speaking about in a business setting, it's not just the pace. We're not just talking voice, although voice is critical here. How you sound is how you make someone feel. And it's all predicated upon science, experience, and specific coaching techniques. So you're trying to make somebody comfortable and not uncomfortable, right? Slow your roll is a really easy technique. And it's often tough to do. Because let me give you an example of how it worked for me and my realization of how it worked, even though I was so badly prepared. Okay. So that slow your pace down. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. That's the tip, by the way, today. That's my number one go-to. Slow yourself down. Allow the situation to unfold. I don't mean go, why do you have a question? I don't mean leave the situation. I mean, allow yourself to embrace the situation. So what happened? I remember I had a very personal situation that took place. I don't typically share about this, but I will share about this in the sense of how it impacted my career. I had a very adverse personal thing happen to me about 25 years ago. Ridiculously poor judgment on my part. And it impacted me in a way that really shook me to my core, like foundationally, really shook me. And I didn't have the choice to throw in a towel. I didn't have the choice to just, in essence, hide. I still had to provide for myself, provide for my family. I had to be in a situation where, and again, this is like roughly 25 years ago. Crazy, right? But a lot happened and a lot changed and a lot for the good. So in this slow your roll situation, here's what occurred. I made a terrible choice, a terrible decision. And it wasn't the first time I had made that decision. And as it turned out, I had to lead myself to do a lot of work, personal work, right? And I wound up going back to my former employer because I was too afraid in terms of what this would impact me with the current employer. So I went back to my former employer, and they knew of the situation, and I still had a lot looming based on that situation. But they brought me back, and I was expected to, in essence, do what I was doing before, which was run a television station and also lead and generate sales, all of them for the television station, locally, nationally, every which way. That was on me. And so I came walking back into the station, and I was all kinds of jagged edges, frayed nerves. I was a mess, and I still had to go to work. Right. So I did. And I remember being riddled with fear and doubt and insecurity. And I wound up having a big meeting. I was able to secure a big meeting at the largest regional agency, advertising agency, within the Philadelphia region. Now, this is somebody who I knew, this person, and I'll leave her name out of it. Became one of my all-time favorite people, and still to this day, I have wild respect for her. Honest to God, love her to death. And here's what happened. So I had to go to the meeting, right? And typically, what I would do, as I said in the past, would be to just shove information at somebody and try to tell like not a joke, that never was my thing, but try to be funny and light. And I didn't have it in me that day. This was not a strategic first decision. I just didn't have it in me to do. So what did I do instead? This is when I realized how being authentic is a superpower. Tip number 2, remember, being authentic, your best authentic self, is a superpower. Trying to be someone else, trying to appear like another version of you, trying to make up some version of yourself rarely works. So I had to go in and be vulnerable and obviously still conduct business. When I say being authentic, it doesn't mean dump your problems on these decision makers. Never works, nor should you attempt it. But I had what was a very memorable meeting. I didn't present a lot of data. Everything felt slow. And at first, that was terrifying to me because I just felt like I was letting the meeting get out of hand. I wasn't presenting enough. It didn't feel like that sort of yap. Like it didn't feel true. Here's what I learned. It was one of the most true meetings I ever conducted. And I don't say that to pat myself on the back. The client, the media director, one of the team leaders said to me, John, that was one of the best meetings you ever conducted here. I thought it was one of the worst. So here's what I learned. You do not have to plow through materials. I carry a lot of internal energy. I was told by a voice coach, less is more. As it regards to me, tip number 3, know that less is more sometimes. How does that impact you business-wise? Ask questions, but ask fewer questions. We talked yesterday about preparation and doing your homework. Here's how you actualize that today. So, what you do, point blank, which is the questions have to be good. Do a little more research. Oh my God. Oh, my man. Yo, baby. Chad Levine, one of my heroes. Honest to God. Business coach, superstar lender, and superstar coach. And I have done recurring work with Chad Levine, which makes my heart feel great in regards to collaborative efforts like these. My strong goal is that we get to do that again. Chad and I in 2025, I miss that wildly. Chad Levine is one of my absolutely favorite people and a serious business talent. Serious. But serious in a sense that his energy is also infectious too. So I had to, in essence, deliver a heart-to-heart talk without dumping all of my personal baggage on top of this advertising agency. Apparently, it worked, because here was the result of being true and right and authentic. Here's how it delivered. I wound up getting more business from that agency in general. I got referred by this person. She had a ton of business that was on the table. We got a fair amount. You ever hear the expression more than your fair share? Well, that's exactly how it went down. I was in meetings. We were having group meetings, different clients, different situations. And as a result of that singular day, I was able to navigate myself in a way that for the next, oh my God, just for that specific advertising agency, that specific person, her first name is Jamie, and that's all I'm going to say. And God, if Jamie happens to watch or see or hear, know that I remain one of your biggest fans, led to so many client meetings, so many success stories. Folks, I'm talking millions upon millions of ad dollars just from that shop as a result. So when I say slow your roll, it is a business strategy, not a filler strategy. Slow your roll. Make certain you are fully engaged in a conversation. That's the key, because when you want to push or force yourself to be more energetic, so to speak, you're trying to escape a situation. Science backs that up. So how do you correct yourself? Make certain your energy matches the room. This works for 1 people. This works for 500 people. I've spoken to 500 people. I've spoken to 1, and I've spoken to numbers everywhere in the middle. And I bet you have too. My man, Chad Levine, is doing more public speaking. And honest to God, it's one of the things where he is magic. So what does he do best? He reads a room. So slow your roll. Don't force the energy. Number 2, do not force the material. No one expects you to come in with every data point, factoid, or whatever to overwhelm them. Doesn't make you smarter, doesn't make you better. It just feels like you're trying to shove something down people's throats. So you want to sound confident, you want to sound true, you want to make sure you're dialed in. So as I talked about yesterday, we talked about preparation, how important it is to do your homework. Here's how you implement that tip. The questions that you ask, the directions you head when you're speaking to someone, all are a direct reflection of 2 things. Number 1, your homework. What do you know? What have you learned? Number 2, your ability to be fully dialed into the situation. I brought that situation down to a singular person at a singular desk, because that was the situation. It was crazy. They were getting ready to move their offices. So we're like at some tiny little desk, the two of us, and no big, video screens or whatever. We were just speaking. And me forcing myself to have the comfort, because I had no other choice. I couldn't run out of the room. I couldn't quit, although I probably felt like doing both of those things. And I had to stay in the situation. Right? So again, utilize the opportunity, slow your roll, speak at a pace and a gauge where people are staying with you. The questions that you ask are really important, right? And here's a question that's not a question, so please don't ask it. Do you have any questions? Isn't a question. In fact, it's a deflection. When you're presenting, when you're speaking, the onus is on you to make sure that the people are engaged, not them. So again, the questions have to matter. Give the client, the audience, the advertiser, the homeowner, as I speak to realtors, as I speak to those trying to secure their $1 million listings. Imagine with somebody with $1 million listing, and you come in with a 40-slide deck of how your firm is this, and the company is that, and here's this, and blah, 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 blah. And somebody is like, I just want to get to know this person. I just want to get to know this person. I want to make sure that they're not going to hurt me. Prove that you are able to engage. The questions will lead to a conversation. And lastly, for today, strictly for today, make sure you're listening. Stay in the situation. Trust yourself. If you don't know something, say you don't know something. Honest to God, we used to do at the company that I worked with, one of the companies that I worked with, I was there with that company. They were wonderful for 12 and a half years. We used to bludgeon people with research. That's sometimes how we thought was a strategy. Give them so much data that they would be overwhelmed and that they would, of course, want to come with me and do whatever I told them to do. By the way, how many people thought that was a great idea? Me neither. But in the situation, but you know what? I'm just going to throw more data at them. Honest to God, that is a sign of weakness, not strength. Folks, the intended goal here is that we are asking for money, funding, sales, leading teams, getting promotions, making certain we are earning our value, and our company and our clients and our audience knows it. Okay? So those are the questions and the comments that I want to do with. Those are my tips for today. I am delighted that I get to be here with all of you. And now, here's what I'm going to say. Darn right, baby. Darn right. Take this email address. I'm guessing anybody who knows me at this point knows it. But in the meantime, this is me. And as a good JD@duffinmedia.com. Here's what I'm offering. Anyone who says the word community, DM me on the social post. Folks, for everyone watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, I thank you. I'm honored and deeply appreciative. You say the word community, there's a 30-minute discovery call from me that I will give to you. That's my gift to you. We would tighten up your individual game to make certain that we are all in a direct place to help you optimize your communications. Or email this guy on the screen, JD@duffinmedia.com. Again, JD@duffinmedia.com. Folks, those are my top 3 tips for the day. I will leave you with this. Make certain you are in a position to feel comfortable and confident for any important conversation today. Today, your immediate takeaways. Do you have something of value to offer a person? Information. It is not throwing cookies, candies, swag, although they're great. What of something of value do you have ready Did you take the time, number two, if this is not a first conversation, have you taken the time to go back and review where you were? We're going to touch on that later this week, how to effectively utilize that information, right? So that when you are in a position to make sure that you're there now, you can feel comfortable and confident to stay in the game. And again, if you're gonna throw data, information, facts, research, comps, whatever, interest rates, make certain they actually care about what it is. Don't just keep hammering points home. So allow them to stay in the game, which keeps you in the game and allows you to optimize your communications. Folks, I'm John Duffin with Duffin Media and Duffin Coaching. Thanks so much for checking me out today. I'm wildly grateful. And watch the replay too. It'll be there for a little bit, and then I'm back tomorrow with more. Have a great day, folks. Truly appreciate you. Talk soon. Bye.